treasure trove and like telling us your secrets, and you know, this is sort of like the splurge, like, you know, big company, big budget. I'm gonna give the steal version. And I'm gonna like focus on like, you know, what you can do even if you like work for a big company or you like working by yourself. And I wanna go back and do
You doing the mic?
no mic, thank you.
Shifra, can you come into
Come in. Okay, so this is going to be a crash course on website copywriting, how to make your website suck a little less. You know how sometimes you get to like a website and you kind of want to linger there, and you just kind of trust them, and you kind of want to like buy their stuff or sign up for what they're selling? Well, that's what I want to talk about today. And like, you all gave a great talk about like a design-led process, but today I actually want to, now I want to focus on like a copy-led process. It's a little different. So you get to a great website and like, you know, all you see is, wow, that's a great website. So many different things go into it. There's SEO, which is search engine optimization. There's CRO, which is conversion rate optimization. You all have talked about that. They run experiments, they see what works. There's design, you know, people like need it to look good. There's the user interface and the user experience. You need people to know where they're going, what they're doing. There's mobile. So much traffic is coming through mobile these days. You want to make sure it's mobile optimized, and there's copy. Today we're going to focus on copy, but I want to emphasize that copywriters don't just like write the copy. They can like lead the usability experience. They can structure the website. They can make sure design and content work together. So there are like 1 billion or more websites in the world. And attention span for humans, and apparently also for goldfish, is like free falling. It's really hard to grab people's attention. And one way to get their attention is having really great copy. And the thing is, when you have really great copy and copy does the heavy lifting, you don't even realize it's the copy that's doing a magnificent job. So we talk about writing, and like people use copywriting, content writing interchangeably. I even saw it in the other presentation. Oh, the content people, they're going to write on and on and on and on. So I want to take a moment and clarify something. Content writing is creating content to attract, convert, and retain. That's with blogs, that's with newsletters, and they can go on with a goal. Copywriting is very specific. They're getting a reader to take a specific action. That's what you see in ads, that's what you see in websites, that's what you see in sales and landing pages. In copywriting, you're talking directly to your customer. So before we go too far into copywriting, I want to talk about one of the fundamentals in marketing writing, and that's persuasion. So in 1984, there's this guy, Robert Cialdini. He wrote this book called Influence, and people call it like the boot camp in the science of persuasion. And you apply these principles of persuasion into your writing. And I think it's important before we start to consider them and frame them. So they're reciprocity, commitment, social proof, and liking, authority, and scarcity. I think he might have added one more in the updated book, but I haven't reread it, so sorry, people. So let's take a minute and like look at each one. So reciprocity, there's this human instinct to return a favor, right? And it's the cornerstone of inbound marketing. Because what happens, you create something of value, you give it away, and they give you a lead, they give you their email. Commitment. So people honor commitments even after the initial trigger of whatever triggered the commitment is gone. So you build up by having small commitments and then they turn into larger. You just want to start engaging. You can do this with the quiz, you can do this with the progressive form that just asks 2 questions and then goes down the hole with 3 questions. Social proof. Social proof, actually was talked about already. I think it's something we're familiar with. You can take the form of, we have this many users. People are like, oh, so many users are using theirs, like it must be good. We have this many fans, we have, this many searches were performed on our platform, and, or you have testimonials from your users also helps aid social proof, as does, these large companies are using it. And you see it on most people's homepage, and it serves a very important purpose, which is persuasion. Liking. Now liking is a fun one because it's not something you can scientifically recreate. MailChimp is a great example of a very likable company. People like them. Now there are so many email marketing programs. People like MailChimp. So I think one way to create likability is to use microcopy. And for anyone that doesn't know what that means, let's say you have a form on your site and you have name, and then there's a window, write name here, and then there's company, write your company here. Instead of that, you can have name, Dana Scully, company, FBI.gov. And people smile, people like it, it's great. Another way to do it is to have referral discounts, like I just wrote Get Taxi and I have a 50 shekel referral discount for my friends. That also helps with likability. Authority, we obey authority figures sometimes to our detriment. Sometimes it's as simple as using the word expert in your copy. Sometimes you can cite statistics from respected institutions, and you can also refer to the big companies using your product. It's sort of like a hybrid of social proof and authority. And scarcity, everybody knows about FOMO. Use it, it works, move on. So, this is what we've covered so far. We did why copy is critical to websites, what is copywriting, and the psychology of persuasion. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through a bunch of copywriting tips that you can turn into action really quickly. And we're gonna go over website structures, how you map them out, best practices, and examples, and then we'll wrap up. Sound cool?
Yeah. By the way, whenever you see a camera logo, it's so you can take a picture because she's got tons of content. So.
Oh yeah, I got a little I wanted to give you everything, and I'm gonna race through it so that we finish up when we have to. So let's start with the copywriting tips. Now before you do anything, you have to invest time in research. You have to understand the product and understand the customer. Again, in copywriting, you're speaking directly to the customer. You have to know who they are. So there's a camera on this one. Here's a set of questions that you can ask before you start. This set of questions is designed if you're going into a company and you don't already work there and you want to ask them about the company. Take your shots. Let me know when you're finished. You can obviously change them and refine them to suit your needs. Okay. Everybody good?
If I ever apply for a job, I'm going to start my job interview with this.
With the list of questions? I think I would love to hear how it goes, especially if your interview is in Israel. So this is the first copy tip, and this is actually my favorite. It's the customer voice. You want to use the customer voice, but how are you going to find it out? Ideally, you should be doing interviews with the users, but it's not always practical, it's not always affordable, it's not always accessible. So, if it's an already existing company, you can go on Capterra, you can go on Gartner, you can read the reviews and how people describe, what is the language people use to describe the service, the benefits, and then you incorporate that into your copy. It's super valuable. I highly recommend if you haven't done it, it should be done. On a similar vein, you want to use the sales insight. Salespeople are talking to the customers, and it's a way to find a gap in your website. Let's say the salespeople keep on saying, it's so weird, the customer doesn't understand this and this. So you'll know that you're not explaining it well. You can take it a step farther and talk to your customer success people, or if you have something like Drift, or if you have questions on your website and people pose, you can sort of cull through those as well. Another tip is using formulas. And the reason why I like formulas is it's a framework to be organized, and it reminds you to use emotion. So these are two of the most popular formulas. This is AIDA and PASS. AIDA is attention, interest, desire, and action. PASS is problem, agitate, and solution. Both of them refer to calling out the emotion while connecting to the customer. They're very, very helpful. You don't use them all over. They're not a hard and fast rule, but they definitely help with a framework. You can take a picture of this as well. Here's an example of using AIDA in action. There's the attention, there's the interest, there's the desire, and the action. Now, another copy tip is even if. It's sort of anticipating an objection and handling it in advance. So I'm going to tell you that these copy techniques will make you a better copywriter, even if you're a copywriter. You can use this on the sales page as well. A lot of people want to justify the pricing, and they say, it might seem expensive, but you emphasize the value, and people won't even notice the price. The U technique. Now this is really, really, really important because you're speaking directly to your prospects. You want to make the customer the hero. I don't like seeing websites where like, we did this and our company is boasting this. You know, if you want to be serious about it, you'll go through every sentence and you'll put you in front of it. You know, instead of users will notice, you will notice. Instead of business owners, you. Instead of I provide, you'll get. Instead of I teach, you'll learn. This is another way to trigger emotion and connect with the customer. This is a fun one. It's so what? You want to avoid empty promises. Like you want to make sure you're understandable. So somebody says, oh, this makes your SEO work really hard. So what? So you rank better. So what? So you get more traffic. So what? So you get more customers. Ah, now it makes sense. This is pretty straightforward. Use active voice, engage the reader. You know, you don't want to use the passive voice. So instead of over 5,000 customers have been helped by our services, we have helped over 5,000 customers and similar. Pretty straightforward. It just, you know, remember when you're writing copy for a website. You want to be using strong words. It's going to strengthen your copy. It's going to help you sound confident. It's going to build trust. It's just that simple. Like you want to have a definitive statement. You also want to use simple words. You want to cut the jargon. You know, this is on a low level. Like you want to use get instead of obtain or best instead of superior. People are scanning. They're not reading everything. You want them to get the point really, really quickly. You also want to be clear. Like you don't want, if you have a whole sentence say, we're disrupting the banking industry. Or you can say, we help small businesses track and pay their monthly bills. You know, you really want to like keep it simple, keep it clear, keep it concise. And I just went clarity over clever, and you already got a good example. Cut the jargon, be understandable. I didn't remember adding that slide. Specificity is also really important. It's another emotional trigger. You know, you can say we have powerful analytics, but really what does that mean and how does that connect to someone? Oh, our analytics will answer all your attribution questions. Now we're talking. So this is a review of the copywriting tips, and we're going to move to the next module. But before we do that, if you incorporate all those tips, you're going to remember that copy is a 4-letter word, and there are 4 C's. They're concise, they're clear, they're compelling, and they're credible. And I just love this quote by Albert Einstein: if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And you know, if you do your research and you incorporate those tips, you're going to get some effective copy. Now we're ready for the next module. And that's website essentials. Now, you don't want to have a block of text anywhere when you have a website. You really want it to be skimmable. You want headlines. You want bullet points. You want it easy to navigate. You want it clear. Now, we've come to expect when we visit a website that there are certain pages. Now again, if you throw everything up onto the first page, you're going to bombard your reader with content. You don't want to do that. You want to use what we call progressive disclosure. You want to have drop-down menus. You want to have some sort of visual hierarchy. So let's, you know, we've come to expect the home page. What is it about us? Who we are? You know, product, services. You know, what we sell, and case stories, how we do it. But you know, you can also think of your home page as the front of your house, and the welcome mat, and the hallway that leads to the rest of the house. Now, your about page, if you do it a certain way, and you just throw up your resume, you put up a backgrounder, it's like an awkward first date. Who needs that? You want to make it informative and show your value in the context of your customers. For the products and services, I want you to remember features tell and benefits sell. And we use both sides of our brain. Features tell, that appeals to the logic, and benefits sell, that appeals to the emotion. And you want to appeal to both. And just a simple way to remember is people aren't really looking for a drill. They're looking for a solution that'll drill them a 1-inch hole. And then case stories. This is something I don't see enough. I'm really glad to see that Yahoo put it in. It's sort of using the case study format and explaining how you do what you do. And I think it's like, you know, the basic, essential, and super critical. So to start with the about pages, they're sometimes called Our Story, and I use WeWork, who sponsors us tonight. And what I love about what they did here is, you know, they tell their story in an interesting way. There's way more to the page, but they also, I feel like they also put in their values. Is there something I'm missing, Steph?
It's just noise in the background.
Okay.
Can you speak louder or use a microphone?
No, I'll speak louder. So what I love about this about page is they incorporate their values. And I think incorporating your values is a great way to tell your story and connect to your customer as well. So thanks, WeWork. So the product and service page is what, you know, what do you do? And that's again, like the features tell, benefits sell. And we look at Wistia, and they, you know, they took the product page and they broke it down into progressive disclosure for the different products that they have. And then they talk about the benefits before they jump into the features. And they just grab your attention that way, and they set a great example for us. Whoops, I jumped way too far. And the case studies page. Now I took this actually from a copywriter, and I actually really, really love what she did here. So what she's trying to show is that she has this client, and they were a rehabilitation center, and she gives the background. They're, you know, a 100-year-old company, and they serve this many people in this population, and she identified the problem. They don't have a web presence, and they're missing the opportunity to build trust. They're missing the opportunity for the clients to see them and get social proof. And so she presents the solution to build them an immaculate website, you know, that's design and the copy, and it gives this hygienic, you know, esoteric, and, you know, she compares the hygienic to like the hygienic of the rehabilitation center. And, you know, to see case studies, you can put them down in a boring way, but you can make them beautiful like this. It builds trust, it builds authority, it's fantastic. Now we're going to spend more time on the hero shot. And like Yoav said, he spent like, I think, more than 50%. Now what the hero shot is the above the fold. It's the first thing you see on top of the page when you land on a website. And I think people talk about like how we live in a scrolling era, so you know, people are so used to scrolling, they have thumb fatigue from swiping people on Tinder, so that, you know, scrolling, it's not important anymore, but I think above the fold is super important. So you could look at it as a breakdown of a headline, a subheadline, and a call to action. And you can look at the headline as the what, and the subheadline as the so what, and the CTA is the now what. And this applies to the homepage, but it actually applies to all the different pages. Every page is going to have a hero shot, and you can use this format to populate the every page. I want to like stop on the headlines and like tell people there's a lot of formulas that you can look into to make a good headline. I would say you should be writing at least 20 until you find the best one. On the so what, you want to like really have an impact statement. You want to like explain the benefits to the reader. You want to like put in a little emotion if you can. And this is where I would specify it's the clarity over the clever. And the now what is what to do next. You know, CTAs are pretty clear. They're like, you know, watch video, you know, sign up now, you know, request demo, etc. So here's a couple of examples. And what I love about this example is we're in an open space right now, and anyone that's worked in an open space has like, you know, known that you need some sort of like place to make phone calls. And this company sells rooms for phone calls. And the way the copy and the text work, I mean the copy and the image work together is beautiful. This is a great example, a classic example of copy working with design. You know, it's very minimal, but it speaks volumes, and it's actually my favorite CTA, I think, on the internet, because when I was 12 years old, I used to walk around to people like making out in public, and I would say, get a room, and I thought it was cute. Obviously it's obnoxious, but what do you know? Here's another interesting example. It's your medication made easy, it's for PillPack, it's a pharmacy. Now, they have an image. I don't think the image adds that much. What I really wanted to point out is that their call to action is to watch a video. I think it's really super clever, and this is actually an Amazon company, so maybe it's even more clever. How's that for authority? And this is full story. It's sort of like a heat map analysis of your website. Yoav mentioned it as well. And look, There's not one image. They're letting the copy, and there's someone that like they test their website. They know exactly what everyone's doing on their website, and they let the copy do the heavy lifting. I think it's really important for us to see that. Now you want to map out the rest of your page. And you could break the page into folds. Every time you scroll through, you're going to have a section of the page. So on the first fold, it's the what is it. We've already gone through that. On the second fold, you want to talk about why should I care. You want to sort of trigger some emotion. On the third, how does the service benefit me? And on the fourth, how do I do it? And this is something that Wix recommends, so let's see how they did it. So the what is it on the first fold of their page, they're pretty established. They have really high name recognition, high customer awareness. So they can get away with like being minimal on their words. Most people cannot, but it works here. Why should I care? They sort of trigger an emotion, the freedom to create anything. That's big. You know, they want to make sure you see that before you scroll down a little further. Now, how does this benefit me? We've already talked about, like, you know, the benefits versus features. They did something really interesting here. They talk about the features, and they immediately explain the benefit of each feature. And they, you know, they put it in a, like a non-linear pattern to like keep it fresh, keep you looking around. It's really nice. And then finally, they say, how do I do it? What now? And they create this 5-step process. This is how to create a free website. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I hope that now, instead of making a website that looks like that, and you're wondering, where do I go? What's this for? Where am I? Who else is here? What are you selling? What should I do? You have something like this, where everything has a place. There's great use of white space. There's a path to go somewhere else. And I hope it helps. Thank you. The dog likes it.
Our sponsor.
The dog likes it.
Thank you very much, Shifra. So if you guys are